I like the other song better, but this song is so important to what I want to talk about tonight. And it's one of my favorite songs. Can you imagine being that little gypsy boy hired to carry gospel tracts and Bibles all over England and dying without anybody have told him how he could get saved? Missionaries hired him to get the gospel to people who never heard. But yet that boy was just a few hours from dying and going to hell himself. You notice how often we overlook those who need the gospel the most. Turn in your Bibles to Matthew chapter 25. Amen. Matthew chapter 25. While you're turning there again, I can't encourage you enough to use the magazines that Brother Sulian made up. Pray over the countries. He has all the countries listed there on the back. You can pray for 6 or 7 countries a day and pray around the world every month. And you don't know how important your prayers are. Prayer works. Yes, sir. Okay, prayer is real. And you have an opportunity to talk to the God of gods and the King of kings every day of your life. And beseech Him to work on behalf of, work through other people to get people saved. And prayer works. Prayer works. And God can do the impossible. What man cannot do, God can do. And I'll give you just real quick testimony. Brother Sulian mentioned that the work that I did down on the Navajo Nation. And I'm still connected with that ministry. Thankfully, God sent us a man by the name of Don Healy who worked directly with me for a number of years, and he oversees everything down there. He's preaching down there. They've started a Wednesday afternoon Bible study and Navajo language class. There's a great deal of Navajo is a dying language. I looked it up today. There are 7,111 recorded languages spoken in the world today. 7,111 recorded languages that are being spoken in the world today. And only about 800 of those languages have a complete Bible. 54% of all the languages spoken in the world do not have one verse of the Bible in their language. That 54% of languages equates to 1.8 million people in this world without one verse of the Bible in their language. Don't take for granted the Bible that you have in your hand. Don't take it for granted. But anyhow, down on the Navajo Nation, they've started a Bible study class on Wednesday afternoons that teaches the Bible and teaches Navajo to some of the people who have never learned how to read Navajo. And so, but he's just doing a great work down there. He just had a pacemaker put in just a few weeks ago, and he said he's just going to keep on going. And he said if he has to have a little help keeping the ticker ticking, then he'll just keep on getting that help and keep on going. But I just thank God for him. But one thing I want to ask you to pray about our missionaries is in America we just assume everything goes around the world works like it does here, and it doesn't. There's a lot of things that missionaries have to deal with that most of us wouldn't think about. For instance, cultural differences can be pretty major around the world. Now, just on the Navajo Nation. All right, let me grab the microphone. Just on the Navajo Nation. Navajo Nation's eight hours south of here. They're United States citizens, but the Navajo Nation has their own president, has their own Congress, has their own laws, everything. When you step foot on the Navajo Nation, you are in another country. And you are under the laws of the Navajo Nation rather than the laws of New Mexico. However, I enjoy going door to door, knocking on doors and meeting folks and telling folks about Christ. But in our part of the Navajo Nation, if you can go knock on someone's door, that is an insult to the Navajo people. It is an insult to go up to walk up to their house and knock on their door. They consider that an insult. They're not going to listen to you say anything. And so if I go up to their house, like I go next door over here, knock on their door, and you just don't do that. In the Navajo Nation, where the ministry is, it's different. You drive up to their house, and you toot the horn, beep 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 beep. And if they want to talk to you, they come out of their house and they talk to you. If they don't come out of their house, leave. The Navajo people actually have the legal right to ban white people from driving on their roads. And you can be arrested for trespassing on the Navajo Nation for driving on their roads, so you better adhere to their culture. And their homes are a lot of them still live in hogans. The doors all face the east when you go in. If you're invited in, I worked on the Navajo Nation for 13 years. Not one time did a Navajo ever invite me into their house. But if you do go into their house, if you go into a hogan, you have to go in and you walk around their house counterclockwise. You don't walk clockwise in their house, you walk counterclockwise in their house. And you never turn around and go the other way. If you walk in their house and you wanted to go back over here, you got to walk around. It's one-way traffic in the hogan. And this is one cultural difference that I like about the Navajo Nation. It is taboo. It is not proper for a husband, to be in the same house as his mother-in-law. Never, ever is the man supposed to be in the same house as the mother-in-law. If the man's in there, the mother-in-law has to leave. Just some things, cultural differences. Now, I don't know all the cultural differences between America and China, but I guarantee you, if you talk to missionaries very long, that they could tell you some major cultural differences. And the Philippines, major cultural differences. They like their eggs a little bit more well done than Americans do. Balut. They're all short, and that's why my brother Sulian likes going over there. Everybody has to look up to him over there. That's the only way you can get people to look up to him with his sports jokes. I'm playing, but pray for your missionaries. A lot of missionaries, it takes them a lot of time to overcome some of these cultural differences. And my brother, missionary in Brazil for a long time. We have things in America that we take for granted. One of those things we take for granted is peanut butter. My brother was in Brazil for 10 years before he could find any peanut butter in Brazil. It just doesn't. It's not there. Australia, they don't have peanut butter. They have other things that taste nasty, but they don't have peanut butter. Things that we take for granted in America. Missionaries don't get those same things, and they don't have Walmarts like we have here. You go to and King Soopers and Safeway. A lot of them have open markets. Even Brazil is not a third world country, but my brother and my sister-in-law, they go shopping. They go to open markets, and my sister-in-law does appreciate the fresh produce they get down there a lot better than here in America. But there's a lot of differences. And when you pray for your missionaries, understand that it takes a lot more time to go shopping on the mission field. And you don't just go to Walmart and get all your clothes and all your food and all your paper products and everything else and go back home. It takes a lot of time to go grocery shopping. It takes a lot of, it's an all-day journey. And in some countries, they spend 90% of their time just surviving, just getting food, because refrigeration, we take electricity for granted in America, and you don't have the electrical grid that we have in America in a lot of countries. And missionaries a lot of times will have to go every day to get meat, because of lack of refrigeration, or the power goes off regularly. And so when you pray for your missionaries, understand that they're in areas that are a lot different than what you're in. And pray for them. Pray for strength. And they get homesick. They get homesick for the comforts of America. They get homesick for being around family and other things. And homesickness is a real major contributor to missionaries coming back from the field and not going back. And marital problems on the mission field and different things. Pray for your missionaries. If you can contact them, if you can contact them through email, contact them through Skype, just let them know you're praying for them. When you're praying through your missions, praying for your countries, and you pray for your missionaries in those countries, just send them a email saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm so and so from Hopewell Baptist Church, and I just want to let you know I was praying for you today." And just a little note like that will mean the world to a missionary that feels like they're forgotten about. And so pray for your missionaries, and then make sure you take advantage of the opportunity to give to missions. Fill this out, get it turned in, and you will not regret it. You can never outgive God. I posted a little quote the other day, and Brother Sulian stole it from me on Facebook. But Jim Elliot, a missionary who gave his life to reach the unreached people, said, "One is no fool to give what he cannot keep in order to gain what he cannot lose." And everything in this world that we cling to so tightly, we can't take it with us. Okay, we can't take it with us. And so you're no fool to be willing to give away to missions so people can get saved, so that you can gain something that you can never be taken away, so that you can gain souls on your record, so that you can have a part in the ministry of these missionaries around the world, souls that they've won to Christ, marriages that have been put back together, and children that have surrendered to serve the Lord with their lives. Generation after generation after generation can be affected because we're willing to give. Don't think that, "Oh man, preacher just wants more money." No, preacher wants God to bless you. That's what preacher wants. And be willing to give. Matthew chapter 25. I ain't there yet. I tell you to turn there and I get busy yakking. And I don't get turned there. I don't know. You're watching it. You tell me. I see your phone back there. Yeah. Matthew chapter 25. The other week, God really burdened my heart about some things. And I talked to my church about it. And God laid it upon my heart to bring this message tonight here. And it's a sobering topic. Not that anything by the way, God does tell you what not to smell. Okay? Don't smell like marijuana. Okay? Don't smell like a horse's rear end. Did I just say that? Hi everybody on live stream. God bless you. You can just give it to the missionaries. It'll be okay. And anyhow, Matthew 25. Look in verse 31. We're going to read verse 31 through the end of the chapter. Matthew 31 through the end of the chapter. I'll turn my clock on here, but I realized last night it doesn't really do me any good because I don't stand behind the pulpit long enough to see what it says. Matthew 25, verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. And he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, and the goats on his left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was a hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee a hungered and athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Dear Lord, I pray that you'll help me tonight. I don't have a lot of time, and I have a lot more that I want to say than I have time to say it. But Father, I pray most of all tonight that you will work through me and do a work in this service tonight. I pray that you'll burden our hearts for the lost around the world. And Lord, help us to see people as you see us. Lord, help us to see one another around this world as people who desperately need the gospel. And dear Lord, I just pray that you'll give me the words to say. Use me tonight as a mechanic would use a wrench, or a carpenter would use a hammer and nail, or as a musician would use an instrument to sound forth the message that you have for your people tonight. Dear Lord, I love you. I thank you for this great privilege, and I just pray that you'll use me tonight. Holy Spirit, convict, guide, and direct tonight. I love you. Amen. There's a lot in this passage that I could teach on, but I'm not, for sake of time, able to. But it is very clear that this passage teaches us that one day there's going to be a day of reckoning. There's going to be a day where everybody stands before the Lord, and we're going to be judged. There's going to be a judgment day. There's going to be a day where we stand before the Lord and give an account of our lives to Him. The Bible, I believe this is talking about, in the timeline of events, I believe this is talking about when Jesus sets up His millennial kingdom here on earth, and He'll judge all the nations. Every nation will be judged. Every political leader will be judged. Every Supreme Court justice will be judged. Everybody, from the youngest to the oldest, to those who have recently been saved, to those who have been saved for decades, everybody will be judged. Revelation tells us that every person will be judged according to their works. It is not for me to try to impress preacher with how eloquent my sermons aren't. It's not for me to impress my wife. It's not for me to impress you. Because when I die, I'm not going to stand before a preacher, and I'm not going to stand before my wife on Judgment Day. I'm not going to stand before my church members on Judgment Day. I'm not going to stand before my college classmates on Judgment Day. I'm going to stand before God on Judgment Day. And you're going to stand before God on Judgment Day. You're not going to stand before your parents. You're not going to stand before your children. You're going to stand before God. This passage very clearly teaches that we're going to stand before God one day. And God's going to separate the sheep from the goats. And He's going to say to a group of people, I like how you treated people on earth. I like the impacts that you've made. I like what you've done. And He's going to say to another group of people, I don't like what you've done. You've lived your life for yourself. You've lived your life for what you can get out of it. And I don't like that. I didn't die on the cross for you to live your life for whatever you could get out of it. He said, I like what the other group did. You lived your life for what you could give. The other group, you lived your life for what you could get. Now, there's a lot of other doctrine that's taught here, but let's just boil this down to you take a big old mess of collard greens and you put it in a pot, and you got to boil it down before you can eat it. Now, I'm just curious. Half of you don't like okra. How many of y'all like collard greens? Y'all like collard? The same folks that like, you like collard greens, but you don't like okra? You're weird. And, of course, I knew that because I know who you're married to. And, but I'm joking, Miss Pam. I'm joking. And you married above your class there, brother. But you got to boil it down, and after you boil it down, what you have left is a whole lot less than what you started with. But you can eat it. And when you take this story and you boil it all down, let me just say, you got two groups of people, one that lived their life for what they could give to others, and one that lived their life for what they could get from others. And God was happy with those that lived their life for what they could give, and He wasn't happy to those that lived their life for what they could get. Jesus did not come to minister, to be ministered unto, He said. He came to minister. That's what He lived. He lived His life to minister to other people. If you go through the gospel, not one miracle you'll find that He did for Himself. Not one. Not one miracle did He ever do for Himself. He did a miracle for His mom. He did a miracle for Peter. He went to Peter's house and Peter's mom was sick. And he healed Peter's mama while he was there. And she got up and she was so excited about being better. She got up and helped serve everybody. But not one time did Jesus do anything for Himself. He didn't die on the cross for Himself. He commended His love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He lived His life for others. And He said this phrase, whatsoever you've done to the least of these my brethren, you've done it unto me. And my heart was convicted this recently, driving around Denver. I mentioned it earlier. You drive downtown Denver, it looks like a war zone. There's graffiti and boarded up windows and barricades and chain link fence and things all over downtown Denver. I mean, it's disheartening. At our house where we live, we do not live in the greatest part of Denver. We've had 5 times this year someone's come on our property and stolen stuff off our property. We've had bicycles stolen. We've had our vehicles rummaged through. A couple years ago, I had my truck stolen. We've had we had a toolbox stolen this past year, and just all kinds of stuff stolen out of our driveway, and people coming on our property, and just we have drug deals that take place right out in front of our house. Prostitutes walk right up and down Federal Boulevard just a block away from our house. And like so many people, I was just always frustrated. Why are these people coming on my property, and why are they taking this stuff? And they got into my Suburban one day and stole toilet paper out of my Suburban. You know, if they need it that much, can you throw me that Gatorade, honey? I don't know where it went to. There it is. Powerade. I got to get filled with the power. And but I was always frustrated. I couldn't believe so many people would have such disrespect for private property. And God convicted my heart a little while ago about the people who live in Denver who just need Christ. I'm upset because I had a toolbox stolen, but more than likely the person who stole my toolbox isn't saved and they're going to hell, which is more important. I'm upset over a toolbox instead of being upset that there's people going to hell walking by my house every day. Why was I so upset? Because I tell you, I was upset because they were one of the least of these in society. They're one of the least of these in society. They're not being productive. They're not being a productive citizen in society. They're going around stealing from people, probably stealing for drug money, or whatever reasons. And I think to myself, this is one of the least of these. Why are they stealing from me? And God convicted my heart. He says, what are you doing to help the least of these? It calls me to go to my Bible, and I said, let's look at some of the people Jesus helped. Nobody had more money, so to speak, as Jesus does, right? He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He owns the gold and silver in every mine. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, and they that dwell therein. If anybody has a right to be upset with how his belongings are being mismanaged, it would be Jesus. But yet Jesus still died on the cross for us. He died for me, and I'm the cause of him being beaten and scourged and buffeted and punched and spit upon, his beard ripped out of his face, the crown of thorns hammered into his skull. I'm the one that's responsible for him dying on the cross. And here I'm upset because I think I'm so good. I'm mad because someone stole a toolbox. Because one of the least of society had the audacity to come on my property and take my belongings. Jesus says, it's one of the least of these. What are you doing to help them? He says, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it to one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. But then he said, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And it opened up my eyes to how much I need to focus on helping those in Denver and the surrounding areas who are hurting the most. I did some research, and there's only one ministry that I could find in all of the Denver Metro Front Range area that has any ministry to help prostitutes, to help those in the sex trade industry, trying to get out of it. I could only find one ministry, and it wasn't in a Baptist church. It's one of the least of these. Very few ministries. We have a Reformers Unanimous program, as you do here at Hopewell Baptist Church. There's only to